There are a few ways to create your own color by numbers or paint by numbers canvases with your Cricut machine. One is using HTV or iron-on, and the second is to use infusible ink pens. I have bought two ordinary canvases, and I want to test the infusible ink method of making your own paint by numbers or color by numbers canvas. My name is Kelly Rossouw, and let's get clacking. Of course, when I was planning this video, the first thing that I did was I ran to Creative Fabrica, and I initially searched for paint by numbers, and I didn't quite get the results that I wanted. But the moment that I searched for by number, it came up with over 10,000 different results. Creative Fabrica is the resource that I run to the most when I'm planning these kinds of videos because they pretty much have everything that I want. And they have so many different options here for your own paint by numbers or color by numbers canvas. This is not sponsored, but I will leave a link down in the description for a $5 deal for all new members if you want to sign up, as I love my Creative Fabrica subscription, and for $5 a month to be able to download all of the designs that you need is a no-brainer. So you can browse through all of the designs that they have here to try and find something that suits your needs or something that you might want to try out. It's actually pretty tough to choose a design as there's so many amazing ones. But being somebody that loves rainbows, I've of course gravitated towards a unicorn, and it's also something that I can give to a friend's daughter. So all I need to do is just click download, open up the download section, and open the color by number zip file that it downloads. I'm then going to remember to save the PNG formats. The JPEGs are great if you want to print them, but if we're going to be using them in Cricut Design Space, I would suggest using the PNG formats, as those typically come with a clear, transparent background, so you won't need to worry about removing any white spaces. So you're going to click Extract to and save them to somewhere on your computer. We're then going to upload the designs into Cricut Design Space. And because it's a PNG, we don't really need to worry about anything else here. So we can just hit complex and move on. I would always suggest previewing the cut image before you upload it into Design Space. And what we can do is we can actually remove out these little blocks at the bottom. So we can use the erase tool and maybe bring the eraser size up a little bit, as we don't need these for this stage of the tutorial. We can refer back to these later. Once you're done, preview the cut image again. Oh, I see I've left a few little spots there, so I'm just going to remove those and apply and continue. And now we don't want to save the print then cut image as we've got no pictures and colors that we need to retain. So I'm just going to save it as the cut image. And instead of number 5 in the image name, I'm going to save it as unicorn paint by numbers. And click upload. Once we've uploaded it, I'm going to select it and then click add to canvas. Now comes the part where we need to fiddle around with it to make it compatible with our Cricut machines. Now, first of all, I'm going to reduce the size up here in the top bar of our canvas. So I'm going to make it fit just a little bit smaller than this, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters smaller than the size so that it fits comfortably on this canvas. But don't make it too much smaller, as you don't want it to be, somewhere in the middle of the canvas. You kind of want it to take up as much of the canvas size as possible. So I'm going to make the height, let's say 23 centimeters. I find that for these things, it's important to change the size first before you make any adjustments, because when it comes to working with our pens, we need to make sure that we're working with the correct sizes. Next, we need to change this so that it will work with our pens. So under the operations section, I'm going to change this from basic cut to pen. Now, if you look closely at the design, you will see that it is drawing the outside of the lines where you would have cut them. If that is okay for you and you don't mind having the white gaps in the middle, then you can go ahead and draw this on your page. But if you want to refine your design just a little bit more, then the next step is going to be perfect for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit more. And we're going to use the offset feature to try and either fill in those lines a little bit more or make the design a little bit more refined. So I'm going to click offset, and I'm going to change this number from an external offset, so from a positive number, and I'm going to change it into a negative number so that it goes on the inside of those lines. So I'm going to select that number, type in minus 0.02, as I find that that is typically the best number to work with, but you will need to play around with the number to make sure that it'll work for the specific design that you have chosen. And I'm going to then hit apply. Here is where you have the option to either separate out the layers and either discard the original design with the thicker lines, or you can attach them and have the lines drawn on nice and thick. I want to show you with the separation of the lines, so I'm just going to separate out these two. And you can see already how with the second design, you have a much more refined looking design. So when it comes to drawing this with your pens, you will get a cleaner lines and a little bit more color on your page. You may also notice that some of the elements have been lost. Not quite sure what Cricut Design Space does with the offset feature. Sometimes it just ignores sections of the design altogether. It's very strange. But as an example, we have lost the eyebrows and the nose. So what I like to do in cases like this is to use the contour feature to bring those back and put them onto our design. So I'm going to select the original design before we offset it. I'm going to hit contour. And once it has loaded, I'm going to hide all of the contours. And that'll essentially just remove all of the little bits on the inside of the design. Next, I'm going to zoom in and add in the nose. So when you hover over it, you can see it selects an element. I'm going to click on those and the eyebrows. And you've got to be very careful where you click because sometimes it does weird things. I'm then going to exit out of the contour feature by hitting anywhere on the screen or the X button. And you'll see I've left the outline of the design, and I did that on purpose because what we can do now is we can select both of these, align to the center. And you'll see now we have our nose and our eyebrows on our unicorn. And I'm perfectly happy with that design. So I'm actually going to hit attach and maybe even make it just a little bit smaller, maybe 22.5. And yes, we have lost some of the inside of our numbers. So we can see there that's an 8. We lost the inside of the 8 and we have lost the inside of some of the 4s. But that's fine. We know exactly where they are supposed to be. So I'm all right with losing those. If you want to make the lines more solid, you absolutely can continue to offset and fill in the inside sections of the design. So you'll just hit offset and then apply, and you'll see how it darkens the lines even further. And then you can hit offset again, and it'll darken everything else that you might need to. Bearing in mind that the more you offset, the longer it is going to take to actually draw. So I want to remove that section. I'm quite happy with how it looks like that. I don't want the super dark lines on the outside, so I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to save my project before cutting, as I don't want to lose this. Before sending it to my machine, what I want to do is change the type of pen that I'm going to be using to get a more accurate representation of what the design will look like. So I'm going to select the design that is attached and click on the little question mark block here, right next to the operations section. That's where we normally change the color. So I'm going to click on that block and click on the drop down to be able to change the type of pen that I'm going to use. I'm going to be using the black infusible ink marker. So I want to make sure to select marker and then scroll down until I get to the black infusible ink. And once we've changed the pen, you can see how much bolder the design looks. So it looks really good, and I'm going to now hit make it. I like to keep it real here on my channel, so don't be like me and remember to mirror. Now, what I like to do when I remember is to flip my design horizontally on my canvas. So I'm going to select flip and flip horizontal so that I don't have to worry about flipping it on the actual next stage. This is especially important if you're cutting multiple colors out of iron-on or in drawing with your infusible ink pens, because then you would have to mirror each mat individually. So if you flip it all on the canvas, you don't have to worry about that. So then you can just go ahead with the next steps by hitting Make It. I'm going to change the material size to match what I'm going to place on my mat, which is going to be an A4 piece of copy paper. And I'm just going to center it a little bit more on the inside of the page. I'm then going to hit Continue and choose the material that my Cricut will be drawing on, which will be just plain old copy paper. So I'm going to click Browse All Materials and search for copy paper. Now that that's done, I'm going to load up the copy paper onto my light grip mat. As I'm using copy paper, I don't want to use a very strong mat at all. You can use a very old green mat or a light grip mat. Make sure to use your brayer just to get all the bubbles out. Don't press too hard as you don't want it to really stick down to your mat. Load your pen into the machine. Make sure that you hear a click when it inserts into the pen adapter. And once you click play, it may take a little while for it to draw out the design, but that's such a fun part. Now that it's completely drawn and it's been mirrored, we're going to flip the mat over and remove the mat from the paper so that it doesn't curl the paper. I'm then going to take my larger canvas, open it up, remove everything that can burn, and we're going to place the design with the ink side down onto the canvas. Now, what's nice about this is we can see roughly where it is in the middle, a little bit lower down, and we can take some heat resistant tape and then tape it down to the canvas so that it doesn't move. The next thing what we can do is to get a hand towel or a face cloth or something like that to go on the inside of this section, because when the heat press presses down onto it, this is going to press in a little bit and we don't want that. A towel or a t-shirt or something like that is pretty much your best option to be able to have this level and supported so that when the heat press presses down onto it, it won't cave in. Now, I will be using my AutoPress for this, but you don't have to use the AutoPress. I just haven't set up my Easy Press 3 yet, so I'm being a little bit lazy. Now, whatever you use to support on the inside, I will suggest that you use something that is cotton. If the item that you're using is polyester, the dye from the polyester fabric might actually seep up into your canvas. So we definitely don't want that to happen. And then we just need to wait for the AutoPress to warm up so that we can press our goodies. Now that the AutoPress is to temperature, I'm going to place it face up, and I am going to cover it with a Teflon coating. I meant to say Teflon sheet, but editing Kelly here, another thing that I wanted to mention was that when I went to press the second canvas, which you'll learn about later, I noticed that there was a little bit of ghosting on my Teflon sheet from the first press. So I would recommend taking another piece of copy paper, putting it on top of your canvas before you put your Teflon sheet on, just to make sure that you don't have any infusible ink seeping up onto your Teflon sheet. Now I've got the time set at 180 for 45 seconds, so let's give it a press and see how it goes. Very exciting to see how it came out. Now, of course, it's very hot, so be careful. I've got long nails, so I can easily work with this. I mean, it transferred well enough. It's not super dark, which might be quite nice, but I think I'm going to press it again because I didn't remove the paper entirely. Let's maybe take this out. and try again. Okay, so as you can see, it's not super dark. That might also just be this brand of canvas though. But still, I think that is super awesome. It's probably also nice to not be as dark because then you won't have to worry about painting over it as much. I'm definitely going to make the design a little bit smaller and try on the other canvas to see if the canvas type makes a difference though. And I'll show you these results right here. So we can see how the other canvas did make a difference here. So maybe buy a few samples and test them out before buying too many of these canvases and going with this one. But if you want to learn about how to make some party decor, check out this playlist on the screen here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos in the future. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.